Wow. Oh. Turn me up. Turn me up.
Oh, it's that
Turn me up. Turn me up. Turn me up. Turn me up. Come on. Bring him in. Let's go, y'all. Come on. I want to welcome y'all to another episode of the Lion's Den with your host, the Queen Lioness herself, Simone A. Nicholas. This your boy Uncle Laze, the world famous, most dangerous OSG in the building. Shout to my OSG family. Shout to my MOP family. Hey, Queen. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together. Put them all together for the Queen Lioness, that woman. She gonna give you the rest. Simone. Hey, Nicholas.
That woman, she gonna give you the rest.
She gonna give you all the rest.
Oh man! Hey!
Yeah.
Good evening.
Yeah.
It is that time. It is Third Fridays.
Yes. That third Friday is beautiful.
You know, I get excited about Third Fridays. You know, I'm just making sure that we have everything together. I see our crew is starting to come up in the chat.
Yes.
I see some of my people. She
Yes.
said it, very nice and succinctly. Sup, yo. Shout out Giovanna. I see you, Miss Gigi.
I see First Lady in the house. I see First Lady in the house.
I see First Lady,
yes,
cousin Mark, Visionary, Breezy.
Easy
everybody, welcome to Third Fridays in the Lion's Den.
Yes.
I am that one, that woman, that chick, that boss, that queen.
Yes.
I am Simone A. Nicholas, but in OSG lands, I am known as the Lioness.
The Queen Lioness.
Ooh, thank you for
Your Highness Lioness.
That's right. That's right.
So, Your Highness.
Third Fridays, we are in April. I think it's safe to say the snow is not coming back. We're not going to see any more nights and days of 20 and 30 degree weather.
I beg to differ. Today, up in New York, not that far away, about 45 minutes ago, a guy called me, and it was a little chilly today, and they said they had little snowflakes up there. So please, snow, could you please not come back, please? Please, no snow. Mm-hmm. I'm so tired of cold weather. I'm hitting that double nickels in another week. You know what I'm saying?
About to hit on the double nickels, Unc. I'm so excited for you. That's on Wednesday, right?
Yeah, Wednesday, April 21st. Shout out to you.
So of course,
I do not like the snow, Queen Lioness.
I don't think any of us really like the snow.
I do not, I got that South Carolina, Geechee people in me. I do not like. I like rice. I don't like the snow.
You like rice, gravy, and sun.
There you go, rice, gravy, and humid weather.
So as April is Unc month. Yes. I want to be one of the first ones to extend a happy 55th birthday to our OSG Unc.
Hey.
Laze Elliott, we love you. There would be no OSG without you, Unc.
Come on now.
So happy birthday. I love you. Okay, you are the one that named me, and that's a big deal in African tradition. So therefore, not only you like my uncle, you're also now my godfather. So
Godfather.
Happy birthday, Unc. Happy birthday, Godfather.
Early birthday, double nickels for the Unc. Double nickels in Brownsville years, that's 122, but I'll take the double nickels.
Because I'm sure you recall even maybe 40 years ago that you didn't even know if you were even going to make it to see today. Because, a lot of our young brothers, unfortunately, are not seeing it. We've had a number of just disappointing. Now, disappointing is not even the right word. We've had some foolishness.
Foolishness. That's what we want to call it. Foolishness. And
we got to get that. Yes. That has happened since our last Lion's Den. And really just this week. As recently as yesterday, as far as that baby in Chicago, the 13-year-old, Adam Toledo, my condolences goes out to his family. That baby, his hands were up.
You know what?
His hands were up.
Sis, and I know you're going to allude to this, but you know what? Let me just say this to you. we try to keep it light. We try to feel strong about it. We try to continue to be positive, but it is a drain on us mentally. It is a drain. It's been a drain on me mentally, and I've been finding my way to get out of it. I want to thank First Lady, because sometimes First Lady will talk to me and she will sort of, help me to understand certain things. And sometimes even coaches need coaching. You know what I mean? So just to deal with that, I feel very strong. Shout to my OS. That's why we are such a great family, because we're able to talk to each other, and the coaches are willing to be coachable in this family.
Yeah. What you said is absolutely accurate, because it's like, it's just too much. It's like we saw the video with that other young brother who was walking in his own neighborhood that was harassed and assaulted by the soldier.
Oh Gomer Pyle over there. Gomer Pyle. I mean, I was in the military. I dealt with a lot of Gomer Piles of those guys.
Ridiculous.
Those guys just gotta punch him in the face and they turn off. It's like a machine.
It's like watching that.
He turns off. It's Gomer Pyle.
Gomer Pyle was arrested. Then, of course, watching pieces of the Derek Chauvin trial, and of course he's going to plead the fifth. Of course he is.
Of course. What are you going to say?
Right? Of course.
And Karen 2.0 with the stun gun.
Oh my God! Because that one, all of them were just horrific for me.
Yes.
But my baby, all of my babies and bonus babies, they're all drive. And his Dante Wright, and my condolences to his family.
What a baby. Another beautiful little baby.
Another young baby. 20 years old. 20 years old.
We're going to talk about that.
All of this has been so hard on me as a woman mentally. I know it has been hard on you as a Black man mentally. And that's why it's very important. And you did bring it up. Sometimes the coaches need coaching.
Yep.
We need our support. I can't talk enough about how important it is for us to have our mental checkups, because we go for our physical checkups. We go to the eye doctor, the ear doctor. We go to the heart specialist, women's doctors. We make sure that our mammies are grammed. We go for our mammograms. We ensure that every nook and cranny of our physical bodies are okay, but for some reason we don't pay attention or make appointments the same way for our mental health, the same way we do for our physical health. And so I thought it was very important that this month in April that we have a specialist. And you know me, I really feel like representation matters. And so we are absolutely excited, beyond excited, to have here today someone who has a license, who is a highly qualified, certified New York State licensed psychologist. Not only is she a psychologist.
We need the champ. Come on.
Listen. Not only is she a psychologist, she will help you get your whole mental health game together, because later on towards the end of the hour or the middle of the hour, we're going to talk about why self-care is so important. But I don't want to delay this anymore. I want to introduce to first time in the Lion's Den, Dr. Cicely Horsham Brathwaite. So thank you, Dr. Cicely. Please join us, Dr. Cicely.
Hello.
Dr. Cicely.
Good evening.
And look, she came in her Lion's Den apparel, okay?
We love the print. The leopard print is very fly and fashionable. One thing we at OSG, we are always about being fly and fashionable, so you fit right in with the crew.
Okay. She has on her Lion's Den wear.
Yes.
I see that hint of pink and green in the background, a little subtle hint in the background.
Just to let you know.
All of you,
just to let you know.
The finest sorority. Yes, is your soror as well. So Giovanna, you can send her your well wishes. Ro, your people is on. Yes. However, Dr. Cicely, welcome to the Lion's Den, where we celebrate and cultivate Black womanhood. And first, let me congratulate you in being such a model of how we aspire as Black women to really have representation in all fields. I'm so excited that we are able to say, yes, this is what a mental health specialist looks like. So thank you, and thank you. So enough about me talking so much. Dr. Cicely, you're a New York State licensed psychologist with a whole bunch of other degrees and specialties. Can you talk to us a little bit about how you became Dr. Cicely?
Oh, absolutely. So first of all, I am so delighted to be here with the two of you and with all of you who are watching now and will watch later. And since we're representing, not only have you represented for my sorority, but I also, since there was mention earlier, I'm here to represent also for the Gullah Geechees from South Carolina.
Yeah.
And the Trinis.
West Indies. Yes. So shout out to my husband's paternal Trinidadian family. We're here.
Yes. So how did I become a psychologist? Well, there's so many influences on my life, right? Like growing up, like so many of us, my parents told me school was important. And somehow the image was I was going to be a psychologist or a lawyer, people who like to talk. Mm-hmm. And really, what introduced me to psychology is that my uncle, who's just 7 years older than me, said he was going to be a child psychologist. And I wanted to be like him.
Wow.
But I have to tell you that I didn't really know what that meant. I went to college, I majored in other things. Like, when I said to my Trinidadian father, I'm going to be a psychologist, he's like, what kind of money are you going to make with that? So I was a business major. That did not go well. And in that process, when I switched to psychology, it was not until really my junior and senior year when I was taking my major courses that I realized a couple of things. One, that I began for the first time to realize that I was smart. Like I really did not know that growing up in the educational system that I was educated in. But the classes that I did well in were psychology. And when I went to graduate school, I went to Fordham at Lincoln Center. That's when I really I was like, wait, I'm getting all A's. This is my thing. And I really do believe in that there are not accidents. People come in your life and people poured into me and said, this is the thing that we want you to do. I had a great advisor in my master's program who wrote letters for me. And I got a full ride to go to Temple University to become a psychologist. And I want to tell you that I had an experience that is so different from what many of us experience when we go to graduate and professional school. I was in a cohort of 10 people. And of that 10 people, I think 5 or 6 of us were folks of color. And we had Black faculty. And that really helped me to see that there was a future for me. And along the way, seeing other people do this work that made me realize I could be a psychologist. And here I am. I won't tell you how many years later.
It's okay, because it doesn't crack. So
no, not at all.
You're looking fabulous, my dear.
Let me tell you something. You're also covering a lot of dots here, because you also alluded to the fact that you have a Trinidadian father. So shout out to all my Trini boys, all my Trinis out there. I want that boy. I shout out to my Trinidadian people out there.
Yes, thank you, and lovingly to my Nicholas in-laws who are Trinidadian. And she also mentioned South Carolina Unc. Yes. So I heard a lot of what children need, what children and young adults need. And that's a village, and that's representation, and it's support, and it's always consistently being in your ear. And, thank you for talking about the influence. Social cognitive theory, because this is not my lane. So social cognitive theory says, it is the theory that the part of our knowledge and beliefs about ourselves are influenced by observing other people in person or in the media to help individuals understand and address career issues. And you just described your life within that theory. So again, I'm going to go into the importance of exposure.
Yes.
How did that manifest itself throughout your life as you were a young psychologist, now that you have these degrees? And you, of course, we had to move into a space of even private practice, because that's scary. You know, I'm want to get paid every other week, be on direct deposit, know I got Emblem Health, and be happy on Saturday. So can you talk about that piece of the journey as well?
This is a lioness that has to go out and kill to eat. I love that. I respect that.
Well, you know, I mean, I was raised like you got to have at least 2 tree jobs.
Yeah.
So I mean, you need that, but you know, the other thing in terms of how I became a psychologist is really that people looked out for me and people prayed for me, right? You know, my grandmother worked within the home until her children went to school or moved out of the home. My great grandmother did domestic work, and neither one of them had benefit of great formal education. My grandmother graduated from college in her 70s.
Amen.
Right? And so it was the inspiration of people who looked out for me. But I remember, so social cognitive theory really rests on the understanding that what we know is socially constructed. And so the vision that we have for our lives is really based on what we see in front of us. And when we see people who match some aspect of ourselves, that tells us, hey, this is something that I can do. And so I remember very clearly that I had a moment. I was very lucky in college to be taken away to go to a conference. And so here I was as a college student to get to go to a conference on race and ethnicity in higher education. And there was a woman, a Black woman named, now she is Dr. Angela Byers. And I don't know then if she was a new psychologist or in graduate school, but when I saw her give a presentation and captivate a room and talk about whatever she talked about, I knew, actually, she talked about social cognitive career theory. I knew that this was something that was more than just an idea. It was something that I could do. I didn't know how I was going to get there, but I knew that I now knew that I could do it. And that made a difference in my life. And so what I have always believed in is in having mentors, having people who are way showers for you, who can conceive of a life that you can't conceive for yourself, right? And so I worked in a higher education system for a long time. And I really believe that there were only 2 paths for me. It was to be either a professor or to work in a college counseling center. I tried both of them, and both of them benefited me. Both of them had their opportunities and their challenges. And honestly, it was because I went to a friend who became my coach, like the person I paid, who helped me to see a vision for myself and to say, I mean, my coach literally said to me, Cicely, I mean, this is, and I'm going to tell you something that we don't often talk about enough. My coach said, Cicely, this is what I made last year. What do you make of that job where you spend all your time 7 days a week thinking about? And I said, this is what I make. And my friend said, you don't have to live like that. And that began the process for me to make a decision that I was going to stop my practice for play and to move into making it a business.
Wow.
And what I do full time in a few different ways is coach people and provide therapy.
Woo, woo. You're speaking to all of us right now. We talk about multiple streams of income all the time, but that is scary for somebody like me who, again, I need iRobot to make sure that I got my direct deposit every other week. And I need to know that if I have a sniffle, that I have Emblem Health on my side to show for my health insurance. But I think part of what you discuss within that are like the needs, because we break that down into the physical needs, like, if I have a particular routine and that's my space of comfort, but then my financial needs, because I have this, this Gucci obsession that I can't keep up with, right? Gucci, Grand Lux, eating seafood, king crab legs, all of that, and now, Fendi and Louis are a second and third, but, my Gucci obsession is ridiculous, but that financial need, which is not meeting, my wants, and then my emotional needs. And so in those pieces of Black women, when in your counseling, coaching, therapy, how often do you hear about those three main needs? Because I'm specifically thinking about our, setups and our, and our comebacks and our setbacks in a way. If you can touch on that a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So let me just make sure that I got the full question. Tell me the three things.
The three things.
Mm-hmm.
Physical needs.
Mm-hmm.
Financial needs.
Mm-hmm.
And emotional needs.
Yeah. Okay.
Can I add spiritual?
Cousin Mark said the lioness has got to eat and look good doing it. You're right, Cousin Mark.
Can I just add another one in there? Spiritual needs in there. So can we do a fourth?
Emotional / spiritual, but that can be the fourth.
Yeah.
We get wrapped up as Black women within those needs.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would say that the one that for us as created as nurturers, the spiritual piece is almost, already based in here in our souls. And then, the emotional needs, but then the physical and the financial, because, later on, I want to talk about that whole piece about how we kind of like self-sabotage. But before we get to that, those four pieces in Black women, do you hear often, and of course I'm being respectful of HIPAA, but for Black women in particular, do you hear where we kind of are maybe self-sabotaging and not even really realizing our whole worth, or just in that particular area, do we understand how much we control that particular narrative of our lives?
Yeah. So, and I appreciate the desire to make sure that people's privacy is maintained. And what I'm going to say is I'm going to draw from, I've been a therapist most of my adult life, right? Like 20 something years. So I'm going to draw from that. And I think it's a great question that you're asking.
Mm-hmm.
You do ask great questions.
I'm trying to get my psychologist hat on, but I didn't do so well in psychology, so I was a sociology and African American studies major.
I want to add something that First Lady put in the chat. By the way, the chat's on fire, but I want to add something. She said that our spending is also attached to our emotional needs, and that's we spend based on our emotions as well. So that's something that we can even add into the pot. So we've given you this big pot of stew that you got to make, some stew chicken. Being a fella from the South, you know what that means. Stew chicken.
I'm sorry, that stew chicken is straight from Trinidad. You know.
No, well, I don't know. We had the debate about that one with the dumplings in it, the rice, and the big lima beans. But anyway,
we all cousins from a boat that stopped in different ports.
Exactly.
We got to come back. We talk about something heavy now.
Yeah, we're back. Sorry. Yeah, you gotta.
Yes, Dr. Sissel.
Yeah. So I'm going to take this a step back. Mm-hmm. The context is that we live in a country and in a world that was not set up for us to thrive. And the systems that support that today are represented in every aspect of our lives where we touch, from walking down the street, from going to the store, from driving our car, from going to work, from going to school, right? Those systems influence the individual and the community. And the reason why I think it's important to recognize that is that in that macro system, then the closer system, which then is our family and our community, there are messages and stressors that we have to cope with on an ongoing basis. And then let's take it a little closer. And then there are the roles that we were taught to hold in our family, in our community, that are reinforced. And so there are messages about who we are, how we ought to be, how we ought to think, how we ought to interact, all these things. And much of that is not who we are authentically. We often don't know that thing, right? Because often we're caught up doing. And so to your question, do people come to me about issues related to physical, financial, emotional, spiritual comfort, and I can't do these things because I believe this, that I must live my life that way? I think that we often don't have spaces where we get to look at what we really need versus what we think we need or what we want, because those systems have dictated that for us, right? And so, and that's all of us, right? Like, you know, there are some places where I like to shop, right?
You could drop a name here and there, but there's no she wants me to be a brand ambassador. I can absolutely do that.
Okay, until they're paying me. So the point is, I think that what we think we need is not often clear to us, because modern life across racial and ethnic groups and age groups requires doing so that you don't tune in. So what we think is safety, beyond our basic needs, right? That for housing, food, clothing, those things feel very compelling, but they're often a way to cope with the things in our lives that have us out of authenticity or integrity with who we really are. I know that's not a direct way to answer your question,
but it kind of is, and I'm just gonna add, if the alignedness would allow me to, because I do believe that, and I want to ask you this question, because our modern life is really, we weren't, for thousands and thousands of years, we were not built for this modern life. This is a different life. We wake up in the box, we get into a box to drive to a box, and it feels as if we're hamsterized. As you know, you take the hamster out of the environment, put him, and he'll start to develop ticks. And I've shown it through COVID, even with our children, they're starting to develop behaviors because they're being hamsterized even further, because we're now being inside of a box and we have to now watch a box in order to live. So my question to you is, how is that affecting us as a society? Because it seems like a lot of us are struggling with that reality.
Yeah. I mean, I think COVID both created that box and showed us the box we were already living in.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so on one hand, I think there's a great opportunity. I saw this funny comic that or commentary someone wrote, that like, here's a new invention, outside. Like, you can go outside and like breathe and take a walk and it's free. And we have forgotten that because there's so much in our homes that's compelling. So I think that, yes, it is a box. I mean, our time has been restricted. We don't have as easy ways to differentiate between our home life, our work life, our chance to breathe and be away from people. Not all of us have enough space in our homes where we can be separate during the day, or separate our where we do work from our bedroom. We don't have those. Not everyone has that opportunity. And so I think, and I think we don't have the distractions that keep us from turning within and seeing that often what we need is right here. And usually that takes some intervention for people to understand that.
Yes. And so, Laze, I'm going to Laze, I'm going to read the definition of mental health according to the World Health Organization.
Yes,
so mental health is a state of well-being in which an individual realizes his or her own abilities, can cope with the normal stresses of life, can work productively, and is able to make a contribution to his or her community. I don't know if we've all really been living with straight, mental health, even pre-COVID, because there are some things that jumped out at me.
Yeah.
Other than a state of well-being to which we can all kind of disaggregate and dissect what that means in general, a state of well-being based on what Dr. Sisley was referring to. It was constructed for us to not thrive. So that alone, that was the first piece that jumped out at me.
Well, also, Queen, and I want to say this to the people in this panel that are much more educated than I am, but there is a difference between a scientific reality and a social reality. And what the human existence is over thousands of years is a little bit different than this social reality that we are forced to live in now, which is happening in the modern era. We have not, and still have not yet, adjusted to things, because time is happening so quickly, and we're moving so quickly. There's going to be some issues, and there's going to be some adjustment exhaust that we have to deal with.
Yeah. I want to jump in and just add there. I think that is right on point. I mean, our genetic ancestors experienced the threat out in the wild, or like wherever they were, and then the threat was gone, right? And so that their systems could recover. But we don't have opportunities to recover in that way. We have 24/7 technology access that people can get to us all the time. We can get to people. We can watch all manner of things. And so there often isn't a space to slow down. And so I think it's so on point and true. And the thing is that while we have this technology, what I hear you saying, Laze, is but we're still the same humans that we were.
Oh yeah.
That was like, watch out, there's a leopard coming this way. You watch out. Watch out for the leopard.
Yeah, you can see.
And because our brain doesn't differentiate between a physical threat and an emotional threat, it's like that lion still coming at us all the time.
All the time. Where our brain, it's hard to turn it off.
Yeah.
Because whether it's coming physically or just here, it's how do we kind of make that balance? And so now Dr. Sisley had this blog, now mind you, 4 years ago, and we could put it I almost said in the chat, but we can share it. It's what is self-care, because I think this is very applicable to the definition from the World Health Organization, and you led into it so wonderfully. Dr. Sisley did a blog, just what is self-care, from February 9th of 2017. And while I'm not going to read the entire blog, I will absolutely highlight things that slap me in the face, pretty much, right? First, let's talk about, all of the stresses that we have been through pre-COVID as a race and a culture of people, and post-COVID because of a pandemic, and still being within the race and culture of people that were not designed to thrive. Why is self-care so important?
Yes. So the definition of self-care that I like to use is that it is the practice of engaging in activities that support our well-being. And, self-care is something I've been talking about since I was in graduate school all those years ago. I took a class and it was like an aha moment. But recently, the American Psychological Association, when they released their recent Stress in America survey for 2021, over the last year, stress increased. That's, you don't need a study to tell us that, but that is the truth. And for me, it was the first time that I recall seeing the American Psychological Association say that people should have 20 to 30 minutes of self-care daily to help them mitigate the impact of stress.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that? 20 to 30?
20 to 30 minutes of self-care a day. And then I'm going to add to that, included in that is rest. And rest isn't just sleeping. Rest is like turn off all your devices and just be. And so here's why we need self-care. And there's this debate about like, we don't need self-care, we need community care. I think that we need both. And there are 3 types of self-care that I believe that we need. We need to have daily self-care, the things that we do that are our habits every single day that help us to feel well and to take care of ourselves. Then we need to have responsive self-care. That means that when something is going down and we feel a shift in our mood and our body, that we do something like breathing to help us soothe ourselves. And then we need scheduled self-care. That means that we might put in our calendar that on Tuesdays, that's when I take a long bath that helps soothe me with my scents and my candles and my oil.
You heard that, Unc? You heard that, Unc?
All that is right.
So, Auntie, I hope after this you are drawing her bath as we speak, Unc.
I have a very good pencil and I can draw a bath.
I want to know if the candles are not there. I need you to get the candles going right now. Yes.
Well, you know what? I gotta tell you something. She is Ayurvedic, and she does that all the time. She's really into her own self-care, and she shuts down. And I'm trying to be like her because she's got it down. I'm still learning. So I think really self-care is very important because you have to find ways to move the fascia in your life, and it's not just physical fascia. There's mental and emotional fascia that we got to shake up.
But the impact of stress is different between men and women. And we all have stress, but mentally the stress of a man and mentally the stress of a woman. And I'm hearing we didn't even really talk about work-life balance yet, but I just, I want to hear more about, you said the 3 different kinds.
Yeah.
So the chat is going off. People are talking about their Pelotons, right?
Yes.
Some people go.
I'm a mirror fan, so that's my thing. But the thing I want to say is that I do think we need those 3 self-care, and I think that third, that scheduled, can be your pampering appointments, but that can't be your only self-care. And the part that is communal is that you need a community of people who also believe with you that self-care is important. And because I work with leaders, right, as an executive coach, the thing that we both have an opportunity to do as leaders is to be well, because there are studies that show that the leader's well-being is directly reflected on their team and in their organization. Right?
Productivity, yes,
exactly. And people's mood is impacted by that leader. And also, so we need leaders to build in communal care within those environments, in your school, in your classroom, so that people can be well, in your district, so that people can be well. And it starts with the leader to demonstrate that. And because for women, we have been socialized to be caretakers.
Yes.
We are often in that caretaking, nurturing mode. That, to use that example that we've heard on and on and on, is that we don't put that oxygen mask on ourselves. But here's the thing. Your self-care is for your daughter, your son, your nieces, your nephews, your grandchildren, because they see you. And I do believe that we heal going forward for the future generations, and we heal going backwards as well.
Oh my gosh, because going back to the blog, you talked about it with women of what we do and what keeps many of us from engaging in it. And these are 4 points that are themes that you mentioned that often come up. One is, I am not worth taking time to care for myself. 2, this is me, is one that knocked me out my chair. Who I am is deeply tied into who I am to and for the people in my life. Whew. 3, if I focus on taking care of myself, others won't love or approve of me. And 4, if I am not doing, I don't have meaning. Wow. Right. So,
yeah.
Are those themes that you hear more so, again, HIPAA? Is that something that we will hear more so from women than men?
You know, first of all, let me say that I think I talk about self-care because I'm talking to myself, right?
Let's breathe together right now.
Right. Like, you know, I'm saying the thing that I deeply understand, and because we are taught to be achievement oriented, and we are achievement oriented, the doing seems to be who we are. I work mostly with women. I mean, that's just so I don't know that I have a great pool to compare the two, but what I know is that the women who come to see me are often stretched beyond measure. And it's because we are trying to give 100% to our family, our job, our organizations, our friends. And there's this great quote that someone gave: self-care is giving others the best of us instead of the rest of us, what's left of us. I think the person is Katie May. I mean, like that says it all.
Yes.
I think though, I will tell you, my spouse is probably much better at self-care than I am. He understands.
I think your spouse and my spouse are probably on the same wavelength.
Right.
Like, got great lives.
Right. Like, and I think it's because I thought it was because he liked working out. No, he does it every day because he has experienced the pressures of what it is to be a Black man working in corporate America and living in this country. And so I don't know. I think we talk about it more. And, you know, what COVID has done is it's taken away some of those natural systems, you know, the barbershop, the cigar bar, the basketball court.
Does that sound familiar, Unc?
I don't think COVID messed with golf, because we definitely did enough golf. Well, the only thing messed with golf is winter.
So I think, but these are themes I have those are themes I've heard definitely over the years. And I think there are many reasons why it comes that way. And some of that, you know, lots of folks are talking about imposter syndrome and how what we experience growing up really shapes for us what we focus on and what we think is our worth.
But I don't think everybody really knows about imposter syndrome. So can you describe that?
Yeah, I'm going to just tell you a little bit. It's not my area of expertise, but I'm going to tell you some folks who I think are really expert at it. But it is really, despite evidence to the contrary, not being able to see yourself and your accomplishments, and therefore responding and acting and moving in the way that represents that diminished sense of self and understanding of yourself, rather than what is reality. And imposter syndrome can be experienced by all types of people. It doesn't just happen for Black people or folks of color. Here's what I want to say. My colleagues, Doctors Lisa and Rich Orbe-Austin, have a book called Own Your Greatness, and I highly recommend it.
Okay, everybody, somebody write it in the chat.
Own Your Greatness.
Own Your Greatness. Somebody find it on Amazon and please put the link.
And it's a manual to help around imposter syndrome.
Hey, Doc, I want to ask you a question. How many books have you published, or are you a published author yet?
Oh, you asked me the question. So yes. I other than my dissertation, right? But I do have a book on self-care that is scheduled to come out later this summer. Yay! And I'm so delighted. And I just want to say, you know, I have wanted to write a book on self-care, and I probably had some imposter syndrome about my ability to do that. And an opportunity came, and I took it. And so I'm delighted to say that book is coming out, and I hope when it does that you all will buy it, and maybe y'all invite me back.
Oh my!
What's the title of the book?
Are you allowed to share the title of the book?
I'm not allowed to share it yet. Okay. But I can say it's about self-care habits.
Yep.
And it right now it looks like it'll be out from the publisher in August.
Well, shout out to all of my OSG published authors. Shout out to Principal Rob, the revolutionary himself, #1 on Amazon. Shout out to Akbar Cook, Focus on the Love, the first OSG published publication. And so what you
and Dr. Action.
Dr. Action as well. When you got to come on to our Thursday meeting when your book comes out, because we are a room full of powerful educators and people, and we know how to get around our family when it's time to get around the book. You know what I'm saying?
I would love that.
So while the majority of us are educators, we have doctors, entrepreneurs, digital magazine producers, musicians, you name the field, we have them. We had other mental health experts. That's when I first learned that the human brain is not fully developed to make just decisions until the 26th. So that explains everybody in here, because I said, oh my goodness, right? We've had a wealth of people that provide and support us with best practices, not just in education, but in life. So we would love for you to come even before the book drops, even just coming and just listening to just things that are going to speak to our, you know, as you mentioned again in the blog, your mind, body, soul, spirit, and all of that within us, what that makeup is. And so before we're finished, I want to make sure, I know I'm not going to get to everything, but you mentioned earlier that you were earlier on a panel where, we were weary and doing well. Like, oh my gosh, could you just briefly describe what that means? And again, it's almost like we're trying to navigate, through darkness while we are wearing, 100 pounds of everybody else's stressors of our lives. So perhaps if you can touch on that a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, what I want to say is that today I did have the joy of being on a panel with some phenomenal speakers to talk about the experiences of Black women's, specifically around health and working. And one of the core topics that we addressed was maternal and infant mortality amongst African American women. And this is a topic that is near and dear to my heart. And part of what is so interesting about that is that what research is beginning to uncover for us is that it is the stress of living in this country and within this system that impacts Black women's health so very deeply, such that it impacts our ability to get pregnant, maintain a pregnancy. So you have the experiences of intersectional racism and sexism that impact. And then you have the experiences of racism when you go to experience medical treatment, where you don't get the help that you need. And so many of us are taught, go to school, get a good job, do the right thing, And then it is a wake-up call that in doing that, we know it, but it's a wake-up call when you realize none of that protects you. Like, you know it, but then when you experience it, it is something different. And the weight of that is heavy. It is tremendous. I wanted to say, I know what it is like to be in desperate need of medical care, be in a hospital, and to be ignored for 2 hours. And sitting in a room of 10 Black women, many of us will tell similar stories. And so the weariness is, and yet we keep going.
Jesus.
And not that we shouldn't, the alternatives are, like, not so great if we don't. But the impact of that is heavy. I mean, when you started talking about what this week has been, I felt that. I felt that when you spoke, and I felt that going through this week. And so it's just, it's the weight of it that is so great. And the more we are disconnected from the ancestral knowledge, our heritage, our customs, our foods, our ways of support, we lose some of those buffers. And that's what we talked about today, and things that are on my mind to talk about, that we need to dig deep into our community and our history around what helps us to be well and thrive.
I'm going to ask you a question, Doc, and I want to steal something from my good brother Dame Dash, because you, like all of us, seem to be a servant to our community and what we believe to be our obligation to serve our community. We recognize all of the things that are wrong, and we're trying to figure out ways to resolve these things. But my question to you is, do you have any selfish ambitions? What do you want for you?
Yeah, thank you. This is a good time in my life, right? And in that good time, I mean, I really want to do what I'm doing right now. I remember I was in my pre-doctoral internship at the University of Maryland, and I had a day where I saw a couple of clients. I went and did a workshop, did some public speaking for students, and some other things. And I was like, this is the life I want to lead. So my ambition is really to talk about women's wellness. It's to do so in a holistic way, to have a platform to do that, and to do it in a way where I'm not overworked, burnt out, and that I am financially and spiritually and emotionally abundant. And so that is what I want for my life, in a way that it is for me, right? It's to know that this vision I have for myself as an entrepreneur, that I can reach that thing, but that it is so that I can create a legacy that exists for my family. And, in terms of gender roles, for a long time, gender roles within the Black community aren't as fixed as they are in other communities, right? Like, I feel it's my responsibility myself to know how to make money and to earn money and to make that money grow, and to make that money grow even though when I'm not working, right? Like, I have a belief in that. And so that's what I want for my life, since you asked. But that's not, when I was working in higher education or going to school, it was because all I ever wanted was to get a PhD. I got that, and I needed a different vision.
Well, I didn't want to, and I don't even want you to qualify it. I just want you to say, I just wanted to hear, like, what would make you happy, not just serving everybody, but what would, and you said it, I heard it in the conversation. I want to build a platform where I can create content that can benefit my family and my future. And that's what we talk about when we talk about, and I give this to my brother Damon Dash, about what is your
selfish ambition?
Yeah, I like that.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Okay.
It seems like these conversations, like we just blink, we're just starting to talk, and then the time just flies, and it's crazy.
Dr. Cicely, we can't thank you enough for being here with us. I mean, there were so many gems that you dropped on us. And for my queens and my queens in training, can you go over those 3 self-care habits again, please?
Yeah. Okay. 3 types of self-care that you need in your life. The first is that you need ongoing or daily habits, right? That is, you wake up a half an hour earlier so that you can exercise or you can write in your journal. Second, you need self-care that is responsive in the moment. So that is when you start to feel your back raising or you feel overwhelmed, you have a practice or a set of practices that you can go to. Breathing, stretching your body, going for a walk in the moment. The third is scheduled self-care. And that scheduled self-care can be pampering appointments that you do for yourself, that you do with others, or simply something in your home that you do, like taking a long bath. I believe that we need to have 3. And those are the 3 the 3 areas that I think give you a nice comprehensive package for your life. I think of self-care as life skills for adults. We used to have gym class. We don't have it anymore. Now you have to create something for yourself.
Yes. Oh my goodness. This was so awesome. Unc,
Yes.
I'm so ready to self-care it out and ensure that we have our balance, and that I begin incorporating all of these gems immediately.
You know what, sis, a queen. Also, she's saying that self-care isn't the same for everyone. She's saying whatever you do, just pick a few things that you can use to sort of try to balance out your life and balance yourself out, because obviously this is a stressful situation and we all have to sort of, you know, it's definitely, this book is still writing itself. I mean, it's such a pleasure talking to you.
It is so awesome.
I would love to see this show at least once or twice a week somewhere on some platform, and OSG is here for you if you want to just, you know, sometimes you might want to start working on it and getting it going, just getting used to broadcasting, because that's another talent and a skill.
And hopefully this will be the springboard, because I heard you say that you wanted to mention 2 more things.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Thank you. The 2 things I want to say is, 1, self-care is not going to keep you from depression. If you have a biological situation going on, self-care is not the same as mental health treatment. So if you think that you may need mental health treatment, go get it. And how you know is that more than a period of a couple of weeks, you have difficulty going to work, being in relationship with people, you're flying off the handle, you just don't feel well, you can't get out of bed, you can't function, you need support. So I want to say that. And then the second thing is, I know that I saw in the chat how to get to my blog. I would love people to follow me on Instagram, and maybe you're going to say that because you all are so fabulous.
Yes. So the funny thing is, we normally have our moniker going through, but we did experience some technical difficulties today, so we humbly apologize. But you can definitely say it.
Yes. So I'd love for you to follow me. I'm at Dr. Cicely Brathwaite on Instagram. And then I have a weekly talk that I give that's free in my Facebook group. It's called the Restored Leaders Collective, the Restored Leaders Collective. Yes. And we're there. We have a good time every week. And I talk about how servant leaders, heart-centered, mission-driven leaders can lead without burning themselves out. And so I thank you all for the time.
Oh, absolutely. We're going to stay on a couple more minutes so that we can ensure that we find your Instagram handle and make sure it goes on the bottom of the moniker as well as in the chat, because trust me, Cousin Mark, that's Mark Merrill there. I have called him Cousin Mark. He's like the perfect assist man in basketball. He finds it and will get the information in the chat. So
I mean,
I know that
you're so OSG, you don't even know how much OSG
oh my
you are.
goodness, yes. So we have the the Instagram handle, if we can put that again in the moniker, it is Dr. Cicely Brathwaite. And then I will let you repeat the Facebook if you can.
Yes, you can just search on Facebook for the Restored Leaders Collective.
The Restored Leaders Collective. Yes. Yes. This has just been so awesome. Oh, there you go. Dr. Cicely Brathwaite. Yes. And then we'll also find the Restored Leaders Collective, please. All right. Thank you, Cousin Mark, for that assist. All right. So Dr. Cicely, we have thoroughly enjoyed our time with you. And again, we know where to find you. We will absolutely look, for the Restored Leaders Collective. I'm already, following the page. All the rest of us in OSG land, please find the Restored Leaders Collective on Facebook, as well as follow Dr. Cicely on Instagram at Dr. Cicely Brathwaite. This was awesome. So
this was amazing.
This was just awesome.
So Queen, when we gonna see you again? Come on, Queen. What's gonna happen?
When you see me again, yes.
I want to be back, and I love what you're talking about OSG. And I'm so grateful for this conversation and for the invitation. I mean, the two of you are magic together. And so I feel like I got a special invitation to the party. I'm glad I dressed appropriately.
You came appropriate, yes. I'm here with
the Lions Den.
I'm here with my big sister Rosa Parks today because like I said, this week was kind of heavy, so I'm like,
No, but listen, Doc. Listen, we are so glad to have you. Welcome to the family, and please stay in tune with us and just follow us, and we'll follow you, and we can continue to support each other. It's going to be a great time, and it's really, like I told everybody, our women are taking over and they're taking charge, and that's good because we need that. We need you guys to take charge because we're coming up. The men are coming up, and we need you guys to support us so that we can come back there and support you.
And all right, Queen. Thank you. We have a number of other OSG events that are happening before our next Lions Den, because we do Lions Den every third Fridays. Our next Lions Den will be Friday, May the 21st. However, that Lions Den may be out of the country, and I'll tell you why. Listen, we're international.
Breaking news.
Next week on Unc's birthday on April 21st, we have Principal Avenger, otherwise known as the Liberator, Talk with Grit. That's on Wednesday, April 21st. We have, we mentioned the OSG books that have been published. We also have something that he didn't even mention. He does the Raw Perspective first thing in the morning, Monday through Thursday.
Every morning, 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. on Facebook. Come see me. It's a lot of fun.
On Fridays, he does it in the evening. So right as soon as he hangs up right now, he's going to go and do the evening perspective. And then he's the preacher on Sunday. And he will always say, well, I'm not an educator. Everybody has more degrees. When I say Unc is on fire, where he needs both a theology and an EDD degree, he's on fire. So
I'll get an honorary from my crew. I got enough doctors in the crew to give me that honorary.
Yes. So hopefully you'll be able to join us on any Thursday at 4:00. But if you want to come and get your dance on, Unc is spinning as of 3:30.
And that's fun too. Unc does a lot of work. I'm like a Jamaican or Trinidadian.
That's all right. But pull into those roots. I'm pulling to those roots.
There you go.
Dr. Cicely, it has been our honor to really have you. We look forward to you being a part of the family. I want to, of course, send a special shout out to one of my role models, who is your mother, Barbara McFadden. Thank you for sharing her with the world. She was my former president now emerita of the National Coalition of 100 Black Women, Long Island chapter. And she was the president to whom I really understood and learned and was very proud to be a Black woman. So thank you again, Dr. Cicely, for sharing Mother Barbara with the rest of the world. So everybody, we are at the end of another episode of The Lions Den. And so before I go, I always pay homage to the queens and queens in training of my life. I am the granddaughter of Gretchen and Ruth. I am the daughter of Andrea, who is now known as Mama Lioness, and the bonus daughter of Rashida. I am the bonus mother of Sanaya. I am the sister of Valerie and Zinga and Fatina. And I am the queen auntie of Nicole, Jasmine, Jade, Aaliyah, Hannah, and Naraya. I am Simone A. Nicholas, otherwise known as the Lioness, and thank you for another fantastic episode of The Lion's Den. We will see you next month. Thank you, everybody. Okay, turn up that Brooklyn Unk.
Yeah. Thank y'all.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much.
Good night. Thank you.
Have a good night, guys. Thank you.
Night.
What an awesome show.